Hey everyone, welcome to Pop XP. And before the show starts, make sure to click that subscribe button and click the bell to get notifications when we go live and we upload awesome new content. And don't forget, if you can, make sure to share our stream on all your social media outlets. We appreciate it, and thanks for helping us grow the Pop XP channel. Hey, what is going on, YouTube? It's the brain of the mainframe here now, Scala with the Pop XP. And joining me as always is the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Billy Tucci.
What's
and
up,
the doctor is in the house. Dr. Blevins, how we doing, man?
Not a doctor. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm excited, guys.
Dude, I know.
Today's a great
I know
day.
you're so excited.
I'm hungry.
I'm very excited.
Me too.
I'm hungry too. I'm hungry for history. I'm hungry for some food. I'm hungry for knowledge. And I got to tell you guys, I got something amazing in the mail today. Our good friends at Gemstone Publishing, Vice President J.C. Vaughn sent, boom, right here, the Overstreet comic book price guide to the Lost Universes just came in. This just hit stores, guys. You can head on over to Gemstone Publishing website to purchase your copy. But please keep an eye out, because next week, Thursday, I'm going live with J.C. Vaughn, one of the authors of the book there. That's, if you can see. And we're going to be doing a complete kind of walkthrough and diving in. Which one do you have, Bill?
I got the Iron Jaw cover.
Ooh.
Man, JC must hate me. I didn't get any of them.
He doesn't hate you.
Dude.
He sent it to Adam Lawson.
Yeah, he sent it to Adam. You got to borrow it.
He sent it to Adam Lawson.
As you're standing. But yeah, so check that guys out. I'm gonna do my full official review on the book. I'm gonna take a look at it over the weekend. Get a nice video filmed for you guys. We're gonna pan and zoom and all that fancy stuff. And then Thursday we're going live, and there may even be a special guest. I'm not sure. JC Vaughn's trying to confirm a gentleman named Steve. Named Steve. Could it be Steve Jeffy
really?
joining? I don't know. We'll have to find out. But guys, it's happening.
Yeah,
it's happening tonight. You know, it finally happened. So tonight's show is great. We got a great guest, a fellow YouTuber who's just blowing up, doing a fantastic job, has such an amazing channel. I discovered it, for my passion of food. I love this channel called Townsend, and I'm always watching them do craft, certain craft things of the 18th century cooking and whatnot, or 17th century cooking. I'm a little flustered. I'm excited, but they do some amazing things on that channel. And then just through discovering some other very unique food channels, I came across Tasting History with Max Miller, and I watched one episode, and I was like, you gotta be shitting me. This is amazing. Like, this is awesome. How many times have you fantasized about what was it like, eating in the Roman era, or eating, Babylonian goat stew goulash? And I made that up. That doesn't exist, but it's something like that.
Spartan blood stew.
Spartan blood stew. I mean, I've literally sat there I've said to myself, I'm going to look up old recipes. This gentleman is doing it. He's doing it better than anyone, so I'm never going to touch this. But guys, let's bring him in. I am super, super excited, everyone. Please welcome Max Miller to the show. Max, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm blushing over here as I hear that introduction. You are a rock star.
Yeah, Niall's been blushing all week. Like, every time he talks, he giggles. He's like, Max Miller.
So I'm on Facebook, right? I'm on Facebook, and I found the fan page, right? And I saw it and it said message. I'm like, I love this guy's channel. I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I shot a message, and actually fairly quickly one came back saying, yeah, I'll come on. I call my wife. I'm like, guess what, honey? Max Miller's coming on the show. She was laughing.
I'm so glad that it worked out, because I get hundreds of messages on Facebook, and I only answer it if I happen to be looking at it at the moment that it comes in. So it's very, very rare, because Facebook, like Instagram, makes it pretty easy and other things, but Facebook doesn't make it easy to toggle between my personal and the tasting history. So I never go over there.
So it's very serendipitous, would you say?
Serendipitous.
Nice.
It must be. And
I want to really get into this.
I wanted to, dude. I wrote questions down.
Before I do, Max, would you mind if I smoke my pipkin? I learned that from your show too. Yes.
He's like, he'd leave if you didn't.
Yeah.
I'm out of here if you don't light that thing up.
that my wife says every time I smoke it that I should be blowing bubbles out of it. But I refer to it, and now all of my friends do, as a pipkin.
A pipkin.
Pipkin.
I love the smell of a tobacco pipkin. So
Yes, yeah.
have at it.
I used to
Before we
smash
dive in-
pumpkins at Halloween time. Go around, kick them all in.
Levins.
Little pumpkins.
You know what?
Heck.
There have been so many spellings of the word pumpkin that I wouldn't be surprised if at one time Pipkin ended up being on a page. Nobody's ever been able to agree how to spell that word until like 100 years ago. So.
And before we dive in, though, we do have to talk about that you are an avid Pokemon hunter. You can see the taxidermied Pokemon behind you.
You want to
Got 'em all.
big, Max? Make them big.
Yeah, let's just zoom in on that now. But
There you
there's
go.
a reason they're there. There's a reason they're there.
Yes. So when I first started the channel, it was 2020. There was a creature behind me that we used to have on our bar cart called Brewster, who was actually from Animal Crossing, the video game Animal Crossing. And I didn't notice him there until after I had filmed and everything. I was like, well, I'm not gonna refilm because that's a pain in the ass. And people like commented on it. You know, granted, like 8 people were watching the show at that time, but one being my husband. And so then the next one, he like would swap it out. And after a few weeks, it just ended up Pokemon. And now every week there's a different Pokemon behind me. So I don't know, we're up to like showing 120 or something like that Pokemon behind me.
I gotta tell you though about the Pokemon, if I may, guys.
I like how she says,
I think that it's animal cruelty because these Pokemons don't have a beef with each other, and then us humans come in,
It's
enslave them in prisons, and then make them fight each other. They have
it's
no
dog
beef
fighting
with
for
each
children
other.
is what it is. It's really horrible, but it's a lot of fun. So
think about it, though.
Look, it's accepted. Like they make a living doing that, Billy.
Oh, yeah.
It's accepted in their culture.
Oh,
And
and
they're
then,
like
and
6
then you
and 7
hunt
years
them,
old.
and you guys hunt them. It's like Planet of the Apes. You hunting, Charlton Heston and Nova. Oh my God.
it's cool.
I've
If I
never seen
can, I throw
Pokemon
that-
and Planet of the
Yeah,
Apes compared
And I'll
together.
shut up. And I'll shut up. But I did tell the story I was telling Max and the boys in the pre-show is that at San Diego Comic-Con 2019, as we were saying, geez, it seems like a whole world away now. It seems forever ago. But that's when they had the big Pokemon Go thing going on. And I just tweeted out there that, like, okay, there are so many. What's up with this Pokemon Go? Because there is a Bakugan or something. I don't know. Some literally sitting in my booth right now. And please stop coming to our booth to try to catch this Bakugan. And then these people came, and then we were selling books and everything. It was great. People buying prints and stuff. It was a little bit of.
Well, Bakugan is another game altogether.
Oh, whatever it was.
You
I don't know. I
Bakugan-
think I want my kids. What's another Pokemon?
It's close enough.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Bakugan.
Bakugan.
So
Probably-
is Digimon
Probably
like
during that time was a Gyarados, something big. That's why everybody was coming to you.
There was a Pidgey, and everyone was coming to get
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Pidgey.
Now, Max, you might know actually Blevins gaming is his background. He's
It's
a pro
true.
gamer.
Really?
Yeah,
I did not know.
absolutely.
So I'm actually not the video gamer in the house. I do play some, but I only play video games that I can win. So it's a very limited repertoire of video games, mostly Civilization and SimCity.
Oh, nice.
I like
Civ 6?
turn-based, like I can think and everything. Anything that's live action. So Jose downstairs, my husband he plays everything, and he's playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla right now.
Oh,
And
nice.
it's so cool because of the history, but
Yeah.
it stresses me out watching people play video
Well,
games.
are you playing Civ 6?
Yeah.
How do you like the Gods Immortals expansion? That should fit right in your deal for that.
I know. Well, I'm actually I'm
Sorry,
hoping,
I'm absolutely derailing this. Like we're talking about food.
I love
my
it.
bad.
No, I'm hoping to actually do a thing with Civilization.
Nice.
So I can't talk too much about like the details or
Yeah.
even if it'll happen, but that would be really awesome if it comes.
Yeah, because you did do something with Sega, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
one of the very first companies that ever reached out to me after starting the channel was Sega, and they said, "Hey, we're bringing back Rome," which I played in like 2004, 5, 6. spent way too much time playing that game, Rome Total War, and they said we're bringing it back, kind of redoing it, and we want to do a whole month of episodes of Rome. I was like, sure,
nice.
Why not?
Awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, let's dive into what you've been doing. You know, you have a tasting history with Max Miller. I mean, how did this channel start?
Yeah.
So there were a few influences. The influence to really start a YouTube channel in general came from another YouTuber named Graham Stephan, who's a finance YouTuber. But I watched his show, and he like talked about the benefits of starting a YouTube channel. And I'm always looking for something creative, because in the last job that I had at Disney, it wasn't that creative. I liked it, but it wasn't that creative. And so I was like, what can I do that's creative? And so I was like, oh, a YouTube channel, but I have nothing to put on YouTube. But I was bringing in all of this historic food to work. I was kind of learning how to bake. I had been obsessed with the Great British Bake Off, learning how to bake. And so I would bring in these things to work. And one day at a Christmas party, 2019, someone who was working there said, hey, you should put this on YouTube, because you also make us listen to these lectures about the history of whatever you're bringing us. Share that with someone else who cares. And then it just kind of hit me. I was like, oh, of course. And then like the format is based on the early episodes of the Great British Bake Off. In the early episodes, they used to do a lot more teaching how to bake. If you watch the show, you could learn how to bake. That's how I learned how to bake. You can't really do that anymore. And they would always talk a little bit, like for 2 minutes, about the history of what they were baking. They've gotten rid of that as well. And I was like, you know what? I missed that, so I'll bring it back. And that's tasting history.
He's
You really are natural.
back. Yep.
Yeah, we just got a super chat in. Thanks, Lord Ravener. Max is such an inspiration and makes these obscure recipes so accessible. I actually bought white port in order to make an everlasting syllabub.
Syllabub, white port. First of all, white port is good on its own. But yeah, everlasting syllabub. It's basically alcoholic whipped cream.
Oh.
And it was very popular. It started out as just syllabub. It wasn't everlasting. And it would separate. You had like the wine usually on the bottom, and then this kind of foam on top, and you would drink it like a cappuccino, but alcoholic. And then they started adding a little bit more sugar and cream to it, so it would stabilize and become everlasting syllabub. So then it was just alcoholic whipped cream, and it's fantastic and super easy to make, and it should come back.
Oh.
Well, they did. Remember they had I don't know who made it, but they did have, I remember going to the liquor store, or up here in New England, we call them package stores. They had alcoholic whipped cream.
Syllabub. Everlasting syllabub. I'm guessing
instant syllabub.
Package, but that is what it was.
Instant syllabub.
Yeah.
They were tasty. Yeah. Many college parties had those.
I should start selling canned syllabub. That's a good idea.
You should. There you go. Keep that
Max, you seem, like I said, you really are a natural at it, and I mean, you really are so entertaining, and you're really engaging with. You know, I know you're talking into a camera, but you really have this really likability, this quality that just grips you, that you just end up watching 3-4 shows in a row when you should be working. So when you started this, and like, okay, I want to do this show, and you said you had 8 viewers or something like that, did you ever, what was your goal? Was it just a show for you and your friends maybe? Or like, how did you, like, what was the whole motivation to it, that you...
Yeah. So the motivation was, I mean, I wanted to do something creative and get it out there. I'm an attention whore, so I wanted people to enjoy what I'm creating. I mean,
that's how we're here,
right? I mean, come on. But there was a financial idea kind of in my head. But you have those things that you don't really think it's actually going to happen. But hey, if you throw the dice enough times, surely you'll
illusions of grandeur. You always have illusions of grandeur when you want to start something.
Exactly. But my delusion of grandeur was, I want to make an extra $1,000 a month, and have like 10,000 subscribers. That was my goal. And I have more than 10,000 subscribers now.
Tiny bit.
So even
just
even
a little
like
bit.
my outlandish goal, which I thought was kind of ridiculous, and I had certain people in my household who said, all right, just letting you know, don't get your hopes up. It happens. I mean, he's been very, very supportive, unbelievably so. But he was the one who keep your feet on the ground, okay? So I wouldn't be disappointed, and so even the most that I thought this channel could do was it's been blown away. It seems like such a weird niche.
So crazy.
People out there like food, history, and my bad dad jokes and puns. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, you've garnered over 1 million subscribers.
Yeah,
it's crazy. You got your play button yet?
I did. I got my gold play button a couple weeks ago. Yeah,
I saw the Q&A. I didn't see if you actually did a video of it. I didn't see it.
So I just got the play button 2 weeks ago. So it didn't make it in the Q&A, but it made it into a more recent, I think, the Lupercalia video.
Nice.
I mean, it's just
congrats, man. Congrats.
Crazy. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Especially it's funny because when I started YouTube, and even obviously it's even worse now, but it seems like if you aren't sponsored by a major company, or if you're not the YouTube channel for the History Channel or something like that, you don't really have a chance, because I have my kitchen is so small, I can't film me cooking in the kitchen. That's why I sit at a table outside the kitchen, and I have a fairly cheap camera, and so it just kind of didn't seem possible. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought it was very moving and entertaining at the same time. The I Quit episode. I mean, you had this. You talked about the fear and all, but you really seem to this, not a sense of relief, but just wow, oh my, that's it. This is what I'm doing, and it's so great. Well,
yeah, that fear is still there. By the way, it has not gone away.
Now, how was the start for you? Was it a slow start, or were you starting to see things pick up really quick?
So, I mean, I timed things, not purposefully. I timed things really well. I started the channel. My first episode was about 2 weeks before lockdown. And if I had started 2 weeks later, I wouldn't have started, because there was money that having to buy a camera and just all these different things. And when lockdown happened, I was furloughed. So it was all right, we're not spending any money. Oh. And even when the show was going, it was okay, I can't spend more than, I think my budget was $8 a recipe. That was it. That's all I could spend. Wow. And even then it was kind of if you could find the ingredients, because you couldn't even find flour, but I think because everyone was staying at home and, had nothing else to do, I would share the videos on Facebook and Reddit. And about a month and a half or 2 months in, probably, I shared one video that ended up getting kind of shared around, and it got 30,000 views. And then in June, so about 4 months after I started, I shared a video on Garum. And I went from 5,000 subscribers, which was unbelievable that I had done that well, to 150,000 subscribers in about 5 days.
Wow. What was that like, waking up every morning to
you know what? I don't think that I've ever had a more exciting period in my life than that 2 weeks. It was, for the first week, we thought it was a mistake. We thought that YouTube would be oh, oops, those aren't your views. Give those back to us.
Not how it works.
Because it was just, it just blew up, and not just the views and the subscribers, but my Instagram and Twitter and everything. But then also I was getting emails, hundreds of emails and messages of support and people just wanting to talk and everything. It was really, really exciting. And while I've never had that kind of explosive growth of that week again, it really has been fairly consistently growing ever since. I've been very, very lucky that people keep liking what I'm doing.
At what point ddid you know that you made it? Like, at what point were you like, man, this is it? Huh?
Right now, you're telling. No. I think that it was last. I guess made it is kind of a subjective thing.
Well, how about instead of made it, I use term. How do you know that you finally hit like a gold pocket of something that people were fiending for?
I think about 6 months after the Garum video, because so many, and this isn't just YouTube, this is social media in general.
Mm-hmm.
Things go viral. People have their moment, their 5 minutes, and then that fades away and it goes away. And so the big stress was, okay, we've had that. How do we keep it going? I can't make the same video over and over again, so how do I make sure that I'm still giving people what they want? And that was very, very stressful. But after about 6 months, where it didn't fade into nothingness, okay, I think I've a formula here. I think I'm doing okay. So I'd say about Christmas of 2020.
I guess that made that COVID Christmas a little more bearable, didn't it?
It did, yeah. No, definitely. I mean, and it just made it so I could feel like I could start to see myself doing this for several years rather than, until next week.
Yeah. After that breakout video, did you have the next video already lined up? Like, did you plan ahead for like, okay, then, this month I'll do that. Next week I'll do that,
So, I mean, my goal is always to have at least 2 videos done, even 3. I never have that. I'm usually working the week before, but I'm always working on 4 or 5 videos at the same time. I'm researching something. I'm deciding how to tell a story on another thing, which most of that work is done in the shower. I'm just thinking about what I've researched and how can I formulate that into a story. And then I'm writing something, I'm filming and editing something. So they're all kind of going at the same time. It happened that with the Garum one, I had 2 already done because I made the Garum in order to use it in another recipe. So I had already filmed that other recipe as well, which then ended up doing very well. And they were both Roman recipes, and I was a little like, what if I do something other than Roman recipes? Are people going to leave? And luckily they didn't. We had a few weeks where it was like, oh, maybe they will. I did a Civil War recipe and it just tanked. And eventually it's done okay. But one, it might not have been everybody's bag. Not every topic is as widely interesting to people. It also happened to be at the very end of July. And being new to YouTube, I didn't realize that from the end of July until the middle of September, things go down. People don't watch as much. January is the same way. It has this cycle, but I didn't know that. So I'm very, very stressed. I was like, well, dream's over.
Did you have any other big influencers asked to collaborate with you? Like, when it comes to cooking things, like obviously David Dobrik is all about joining anybody who will do any kind of cooking show. And, he's around in your neck of the woods. Like, have you gotten anything like that?
Not really. I did Townsend's, who I know, now you watch Townsend, yes. I believe, right? I did a Q&A with him very shortly, actually, just a couple months after the channel took off. Part of the issue was, we were still very much in lockdown, and we weren't really collaborating with anyone was going to be very hard. And only recently has it become less hard. I haven't really, though, been approached, and I'm okay with that. I've found that when I do have guests and everything, it's a lot of fun for me. But technically, I'm not very good at editing that and the technical side of having 2 microphones. You'd think it's very easy. It's a nightmare for me.
People don't realize you're doing everything.
You're right. I do everything, and people are better at certain things than other things. I like storytelling. I can basically edit the video before I film it. I've written it out, edited. With a conversation with someone else, that's not the case. And so then the editing process takes me a lot longer, and it stresses me out, and it never turns out as well. So I think until I'm collaborating with people who they're doing that, or else I have someone else doing that, I will keep it to a minimum.
Yeah. Well, but you have such a great niche. Like, you really do. I mean, what you've put together, and one thing I've learned, from, the gentleman I had mentioned who does a lot of work with YouTube, is that's like kind of key. You really have to have something unique and special. And what's really great about your brand and what you've put together is you could go into books. You could go into television. I mean, you could be traveling the world, actually physically experiencing what they did 1,000 years ago while showing people how you make the recipe. Yeah. And you've done so well with your show, just yourself. They've made it so easy. As Lord Ravner said, everything's broken down so easy that anyone can do these recipes. And you do the legwork for everyone. So if there's an ingredient that's hard to get, it's in the links.
Yeah, I put them in the links, and very often I try to. If it's super hard to find, I try to give an alternate, because I know that people want to recreate these things, but not everyone wants to go find a sow's udder. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
So or a capon.
Our shop is always out.
My butcher's got an overstock of them.
Yeah, but it's also interesting. I love the history aspects of it, as you said, that they can't find these things, because things I've learned from your show was that, like, vegetables and plants in the modern era, say for the past 2,000-3,000 years, some have gone extinct. Mm-hmm. Like the what is it, silphium?
Silphium is extinct. That's the big one. But even everything, pretty much everything, and that's always you get a lot of pedantic kind of, well, you're not doing it exactly because you would need to grind this corn and whatever. And that's a different channel. There are channels who are reenactors who do that kind of stuff. I'm not. I'm all about kind of bringing it to the modern kitchen. But also, you can never, ever recreate an old dish, because ingredients have changed. Carrots, lettuce, wheat in general, chickens, every single ingredient is different than it was even 150 years ago, let alone 1,000 years ago. Yeah. And so at a certain point, it's kind of like, okay, where do I want to be as true as possible? And where does it just become unrealistic to try to recreate this in the way that it was done? And sometimes for me, it often depends on how lazy I am that week, or how many days I have to get a recipe out, because I put something out every week, sometimes twice a week. So it's like, I can't spend 3 weeks trying to source this ingredient. It's like, I got 5 days, and usually I try to think ahead and everything so I can get things offline. But at a certain point, it's like, I'm not going to get this. So.
Mm-hmm. And so what is your production process like? I mean, I read that it's somewhat of like over 60 hours a week in research and production and everything. Well, what is your, so if you're going to start a new episode tomorrow, how does the process work?
So the first thing I do is I try to think about a month, or really 2 months out. Like, I'm thinking right now about May's episodes, late April and May. And I come up with, sometimes I want things that are based around certain holidays. And then sometimes it's just, I haven't done a Roman recipe in 6 weeks. I got to, bring Rome or Greece back out. The crowd pleasers, I try not to do too many things back to back to back. And then either I decide on, usually it comes from me reading or listening to podcasts or documentaries, many of which have nothing to do with food. But the nice thing is, food is in everyone's life throughout history. Nobody's gone without it for very long. Right. And so if I'm reading a story about, Catherine de Medici and her political influence, and they mentioned that she hosted a banquet. Well, I'm like, oh, what would they have served at that banquet? And then I can fall down that rabbit hole of, oh, it turns out she actually loved the food of Bartolomeo Scappi. She brought a copy of his cookbook to France with her. And, so then I can find something from there. And then, but maybe it's the story of Catherine Medici that I actually want to tell. So then I start researching more of that as well as the dish. And then more often than not, what happens is I get into the dish or vice versa. And I realize, oh no, this is the story. This is what's interesting because everybody's already covered that other story. I like to find those weird little stories from history or asides. I really depend on primary sources. Sometimes they're not the most reliable historically because they've inserted themselves and their political leanings and their, all of that from their time period into their writings. But I find that the most interesting, and I find that the most. This is what it would have been like to eat with this person, mm-hmm. and so I try to put those in. I'm not a historian. That ain't my job. My job is storyteller of historical stories.
And you do a great job at it too.
Definitely.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So once I've done all that research and haven't written anything down, then I open up a Google Doc and I just start writing things. Every quote that I've thought was interesting, whether it has anything to do with, like I said, it so often ends up being different than what I set out to cover. So I end up just putting whatever I think is interesting in there. And then I usually spend 4 or 5 days not working on it. And I'm working on something else. I'm filming and editing another episode. And every time I'm in the shower, I think about the episode that I just researched, and it starts to create a story and how I can link things, sometimes a little forced, but I can link things together. And then I'll sit down and write the script. And usually I can write the script in one day.
Wow.
Sit down 6-7 hours. I have all the research, and it'll go from, maybe 15 or 16 pages of research notes into a 7 to 9 page script. And I do script everything pretty much word for word. What ends up being in the video is not what is in the script word for word, but I have to script it word for word simply as a storyteller for my own sake. Mm-hmm. And then I'll usually, cook the recipe a few times, figure out the best way to do it. Each recipe is different. Some take more work than others, obviously. And then I'll film, usually on the same day, very often back to back. End up eating cold food and having to reheat it and everything. It's kind of a nightmare because it takes forever to take pictures of the food, and then I have to clean the kitchen, and then and then I do 3 passes of editing, and that is, for me, that's the most laborious process, I guess. I've gotten faster. It's usually not the most fun. Sometimes it is. Today, I just edited a video that I had a blast doing because there were so many wonderful images that I found from history. This medieval butcher's dance that took place in Nuremberg. They wore these outlandish costumes for Carnival, and there were tons and tons of pictures, and I was having to throw out pictures. And usually it's the opposite. Usually I'm like, does this kind of tie into what I'm talking about? Because there are so few, people are like, well, that's not that exact meal. It's like, no, there are no pictures of that meal.
Yeah.
So that's always, so I do one pass where I'll take the hour and a half of me talking and edit it down to 15 minutes. And then I'll do another pass where I'm adding all of the B-roll of me cooking, and then all of the images and the dialogue that I overlay. And then the last pass is the music. And only when I've added the music am I ever like, oh, this is a good episode. Because usually I'm like, this episode is boring, it lags, I'm gonna hate it. and you just add a little bit of music, and it's like when something lags, put some fast music under it, and it moves it along. It's really brilliant how it works. And I used to work with the music is so important. Even if you can barely hear it, your brain absorbs it. I used to work when I was at Disney. One of my jobs was working with the music team for all of our trailers and TV spots, and just getting to see how they used music to tell the story. Even if you turn off the visuals, the music in those trailers still has an arc. Obviously, I'm a lot simpler than that, but I still try to use that idea of I'm trying to tell a story and evoke emotion through the music.
And you also use it to set the pace.
To set the pace. That's the biggest thing. So usually when I'm cooking, that's the slowest part of the video, because it can get a little like I name off all of the ingredients. There aren't a lot of other cooking shows that do that. I name off all the ingredients, but I find that helpful for if I wanted to recreate it as a viewer, but it's not the most exciting thing. So I tend to put some fast music under it.
No, but it is cool, because as someone who's like, my wife is a phenomenal cook, but I'm not, but I'm really interested in it. I help her. I clean up and that's one of the things we discovered in COVID is we cook together, and I love it. But I stop your videos when you do a particular, a spice or something like that, and I have to then go and Wikipedia it or Google it and see what it is, and that's how I learned what Sylphian was.
Yeah.
Like, it's gone. Like, what do you mean it's gone? What was that? And I bet you also must have really entertaining blooper reel. Do you have like outtakes and bloopers? And
so it's funny. People are always asking for a blooper reel. I think if there was another person in the room while I was filming, there would be lots of funny bloopers. But since it's only me, my bloopers are simply me getting frustrated that I can't get something.
I was just going to say, is it probably...
Yeah. Just throw a knife across the room.
It's just my frustration. There's because I don't laugh at myself. While I do laugh at myself when I'm writing a script. I'll often be like, I am so clever. But so when I'm filming, the bloopers aren't that exciting. I think there have only been a couple, and I've actually included them in the video because like if I can't say a word. And there are some words that I really have trouble with.
That was one of my questions.
Yeah.
But you're really good at your Greek and your Latin. You really are.
Yeah.
Not that I know, but it sounds like you know what you're talking about.
Say the word, Nile. Say it.
What word?
The cookbook.
The cookbook?
The Opera de Bartolomeo Scappi.
Opera de Bartolomeo Scappi.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't say that.
You got this knowledge.
You threw me off. Like, what are you talking about?
We
the
were
name of his cookbook?
Literally before it came on.
I don't pay attention when you talk.
Oh my god.
Do you have and I know we're coming near the end, but do you have a recipe that you've discovered? Like, say, like if it's a Renaissance era, a Mideastern one, a Roman one. Is there something that you found like, wow, I really like this, and you find yourself cooking it just for yourselves, on a Sunday or something like that? Like, how about we have some of that, or you make a little more, gramin for yourself, and
like, I'm gonna make some apple and cheese pie.
Do you ever add like the gramin to modern food? Oh, here's a nice condiment for try this.
So,
it's
the things that I've made multiple times are the syllabub, the pumpkin pie is very good, the pecan pie. But I make these things when I go over to like Thanksgiving and Christmas for my family, because in all honesty, I don't cook much outside of the show. It takes so much time and energy to be making these. I never go back. I can't even remember what episode. Very often when an episode airs, I can't even remember like making it because I've moved on. I'm on to the next episode. And so people are like commenting and I'm like, wait, I have to go back and watch. I'm like, wait, what did I do? Oh yeah, that's right. So I do rarely go back, and it's not for lack of wanting to. It's simply for lack of time.
So what do you eat when you're not eating this stuff? Like what's your go-to meal?
He's like Kraft mac and cheese. Nah.
Yeah, he's like
even worse, man. It's usually takeout. We go, Pollo Loco, Chipotle.
What?
Fair
I
amount.
love
Chipotle's good.
Yeah.
I like
Chipotle's the best.
It's like if
Get my
it's
burrito bowl.
it's nearby and it's fast, and I often don't finish working until 8. I'm not gonna cook.
Yeah.
There are a few set times a week that we do cook, and it's like we're gonna cook tonight or whatever, but it's not often.
Do you get?
Well, it's your job now.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah,
one of
that's
those things, right? Like
fun.
if you're a builder, most builders, sometimes their houses are immaculate, but a lot of their houses need work because all day they're building.
Yeah.
So when they come home, they don't want to work.
It's not even the cooking as much as the cleaning up. I think if I had like a full-time maid, maybe, but it's like you finish cooking. Okay, finish work at 8, finish cooking at 9:15, and now I have to clean? Well, I go to bed at 10.
Yeah.
So the answer is no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you did the
That's the
pumpkin
worst.
pie episode. The 300-year-old pumpkin pie or whatever, from 16, I don't know, 60, 70, whatever. But have you ever considered doing like I guess what the Pilgrims and the Indians shared at the first Thanksgiving?
So yeah, and that actually was probably on the schedule for this last Thanksgiving. It'll probably go next Thanksgiving.
I'd love to see that.
So in all honesty, there are certain videos that I want to do that I put off because I can already see the comments in the comments section.
Gotcha.
And there are certain topics, and I've covered a couple in recent weeks, and it's difficult, and I think it's important that I cover those topics, but I also have to brace myself for the day that they come out, and sometimes the vitriol that comes with it, and anything to do with the Pilgrims gets it. I do want to do that simply because they wouldn't have been eating what we eat at all. It was a lot of seafood and stuff like that. So I do want to do it, and I do think I'm going to do it this next Thanksgiving, but I don't know, did you guys ever see Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
The scene where he runs into the pet shop and he's pulling out all the pets. Every time he walks by the snakes, and it's like, this is the last thing. I'm gonna do it, but it's the last thing.
Yeah.
Those are those episodes. It's like, I'm gonna do it, but it's I have to have nothing else to do first.
It'd be what if this a discovery of all these lost treasures, but something like maybe you can get away with it, kind of like with how the Native Americans ate venison, maybe.
Right.
And that's something, again, like you said, when you do with the Pilgrims and all the stuff, Columbus, you deal with that, you're going to get a lot of, I could just see it too.
Which is a shame, right? Because as a creator, I know, I think of things like, I want to do this, I want to do that, but I'm like, oh no. Because any slight, if you're off just the slightest bit, sometimes they'll just go wild with it, and it's not your intention.
Right. And that's often what happens, whether it's because, shocker, I don't know everything. And you can't learn everything in a couple weeks of research. And often, I'm fortunate I don't make that many mistakes, but it has happened. And it's usually simply out of ignorance, or even more common, it's out of assumption. I assume something because I know that, and it turns out I didn't know that. But you can't know, you can't not know what you don't know, or whatever,
Yeah.
And that happens, and people will jump on you, whether it's meant in the best of intentions or not. Well, actually, it's a very popular thing on my channel. But on the other hand, 90% of the time, when I get corrected about something, it's great, because then I can apply that to the next time I cover that topic. And so many times, I'm learning so much of the stuff that I'm teaching on the channel, I learned last week. So it's exciting when I do learn something from a viewer that then I can apply, and it just broadens my horizons. I've learned more in the last 2 years than in the previous, 35.
Amazing. Amazing.
And I think it's great you have an unlimited supply of topics that you could cover too, which is pretty good. Like,
So,
you're never going to be wondering what to do next.
Yeah, there's plenty of food, plenty of history. I'm not.
Do you ever have to reach out to universities or anything to get any research or anything, or even recipes?
So recipes, no. Recipes. The nice thing is there's. I have a lot of recipe books and historical cookbooks, but also they're Harvard and Yale and Michigan University and Oxford. They've put so much stuff online. If sometimes it takes a while to find it, but it's all there. There are literally tens of thousands of old cookbooks online that you can just flip through. Wow. And not just cookbooks, but historical writings. I mean, almost everything I get is from online. The only times that I've really had to reach out for definite help is, so my channel tends to be rather Eurocentric because, one, Europe has a tradition of writing cookbooks that most of the rest of the world does not have in the same degree. And two, I know more about European history, and if I don't, it's very easy to research because it's all been written about and is in English. Whereas if I want to learn about some Chinese history, it can be very difficult because even if it's out there, it's in Chinese. It's often written in a language that I don't speak. And so doing that research, while it tends to be the most fun for me because it's like all new information and I love learning, it's also the most laborious. There is, but I now have my go-tos. Whenever it's Babylon, the lead Assyriologist at Harvard talks to me, and we get on the phone, and he'll talk to me through the translation and everything. And when it's Chinese, I have someone up in Oregon who is a professor of medieval, like ancient Chinese writing and culture. So it's like I can give you this, because so often it's like I have 100 pages here and I know there's something in there that's really cool, but I have no way to pull it out. Yeah. Can you scan through this briefly and tell me if anything in here looks like a recipe? And 40 minutes later, he's sent me back 3 recipes translated. And it's like, right there. Nice. He is opening a book for him, whereas for me, it's damn near impossible. Yeah. So I do have those connections, and I do exploit them whenever possible.
Yes.
It helps with great content. Now, and I have to ask, all right, out of you have a bunch of videos up now. You've made so many recipes. Is there one that you were just like, when you were done with it, like, I'm glad that's over. I don't ever want to eat that again. I don't want to smell that again. And yeah, one for the records.
Gosh, the answer is most definitely yes. I'm just trying to think of what they were. Honestly, the Vitalian Peas. And it's weird because when I didn't like how they smelled, and then when I ate them, I was okay with it. It actually ended up kind of growing on me, but the smell lingered for days afterward, and the smell it just got worse and worse and worse. And so that's one that I'm like, I will never make those again. Yeah. There are a few. Honestly, anything with blood, and those videos tend to do super, super well, but blood has this smell that, and the way that I buy it, it's coagulated into a brick, and so it has to be reliquefied in a blender, and it's like it just throws the scent all around the house, and it smells like a freaking butcher shop for weeks.
Yeah.
So,
and you like the blood broth wasn't that bad.
No, the flavor is fine, and it's always good. Like the blood bread, the blood broth, they were wonderful. It is the smell, and it's so often for me. I'll eat almost anything. The two things that kind of throw me off are scent and texture. I don't like mushrooms.
Yeah, me too. I saw that one. Yeah.
It's like eating a severed ear. I'm out.
We know what that's like.
Yeah,
same exact way.
Very chewy. Very chewy.
It's very spongy. So yeah, there are textures that I don't like, but I haven't had that many. I've been very, very fortunate, and it goes to show that even though so many of these foods seem so foreign because of the distance in time, our palates haven't changed that much. I just did a ravioli from medieval Italy. That's what I was editing today, and it's a cheese and pork belly ravioli that has like sugar and cinnamon and ginger and clove in it. It's like, this is going to be really weird, but when you eat it, it's like, I get it. It actually it works really well.
You had me at ravioli.
Yeah, no.
That actually sounds really good. Because I mean, like even if you've just had like a zucchini ravioli or like a butternut squash ravioli, there's other seats. Depending on where you are, there are those. There's savory and sweet spices in those typically.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're almost like a dinner dessert when you
Yeah. No, it's a lot of people kind of poo-poo the idea of that sweet and savory mix. And then you just have to say, well, that's what barbecue sauce is. You're putting basically like syrup in a way. I mean, it's a sugar sauce on ribs. And so you're fine with it there. Why wouldn't you be fine with it in a herb pie or whatever like that?
Now, are you able to talk about the cookbook you're working on?
I can. So I actually just finished all the recipes and sent them to the publisher. Now I have to work on the introduction and kind of ancillary materials in it. It's been a beast. It was a lot more work than I had anticipated. But I'm going to be so glad that it's out there. It's the majority of the recipes come from the show, but there are some new recipes and new history in there that then I will turn into episodes once the book is out.
Nice.
People then, who have bought the book will be able to cook the recipes along with me, which is kind of fun. It's a long time until it's out. We're getting ready to do the photography next month, and it's like a year from that. Publishing takes forever, especially with a big, it's Simon & Schuster, so they've got a lot on their plate. But yeah, I'm excited to have it on Amazon.
That's awesome. So I had no clue you had the book coming out, and it was just like a couple weeks ago you announced like you had finally shipped off the final bit to the publisher, and I just remember I just wrote a comment on Twitter, and I was like, oh man, I hope one day there's a cookbook, and like literally 3 minutes later you submitted everything, and I was like, that is crazy.
Yeah,
I was like, oh snap, so you do have a cookbook.
I do have a cookbook coming. I've tried not to talk about it too much simply because it is so far. I first mentioned it almost a year ago now, and people are like, oh great, I'll have it for Christmas. And it's like, you won't even have it for next Christmas.
Yeah.
You'll have it for a Christmas. I'm not going to tell you which one.
Well, I'm pre-ordering that.
Once we have like a colored cover format, design, and everything like that, then I'll be much more vocal about it and sharing a lot more about it. Because right now it seems so very far off.
Work in progress, Yeah. That's a lot to it. The photos, everything. It's a production, and I think it'll be awesome, man. Congratulations on getting that going too. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Now, I have an important question for you. I know you're, we're stepping away a little bit from food now, because there's other parts to Max Miller, right? Maybe even a Star Wars fan inside you.
Indeed.
What were your thoughts on the Book of Boba Fett?
Okay, so I'll say that I'm a very easy Star Wars fan. I'll eat pretty much anything that they serve. That said, I don't think storytelling-wise it was nearly as strong as The Mandalorian. And the problem, what made me frustrated with it was I think that the story could have been very strong. I think that the flashbacks, the way that it was told, ended up making it drag in a lot of ways. And sometimes the flashbacks were so long that it was like, wait, when is this taking place? Where are we?
You never come back to the real time at all.
Exactly.
That was one of the things I talked to Scala about. I was like, Like they keep, half the show is like now time, and then they cut to a flashback, and they never go back to it. They never redress it, and it's like it would have been fun if it bounced around, but I mean the way they did it, they should have just started with what happened at episode 1 and just went all the way through. There was no need for any flashbacks.
Exactly, because the reason, in my opinion, to use flashback is to explain what's going on right now, because there's something that you didn't want to reveal earlier because it would have spoiled something else. But there really wasn't any of that. So if they had simply started it from when he stuck his hand out of the Sarlacc pit and moved forward up until, it would have made it even more exciting than when he did come in contact with the Mandalorian, because it's like, oh yes, I knew this was coming. It lost that. That said, it's not like it bothered me enough to not enjoy it. I do still think that the best episodes were the Mandalorian episodes.
Absolutely.
But
were you a fan of Last Jedi?
I didn't hate Last Jedi.
I gotta go.
Here we go. Oh, stop.
My problems with
Hi, Felicia.
I also come from a different perspective on those movies because I worked on the marketing for them. So I was involved in it. And so like I knew the troubles that they were having course correcting after the previous I'm thinking of Rise of Skywalker. That's where they course corrected. Last Jedi, not my favorite.
And back in the game. What's up?
Blevins. Welcome back.
The one where Princess Leia flies through space, correct?
Yeah, she force pulls herself. Let's just say that.
She flies through space. That is my least favorite of all of the movies. And this includes the first one.
I enjoyed Rogue Squadron.
Yeah, I did. I did too.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Rogue One? Oh, Rogue One is one of my favorites.
Rogue One, sorry.
Yeah, Rogue
One. Squadron's the video.
Rogue Squadron's the book, yeah.
Well, and that's why I'm glad that they're done with the Skywalker saga and can do these other stories, but still in the world, because I've really enjoyed them. The Mandalorian, I love the Mandalorian.
I love Mandalorian.
And call me basic, but anything with Baby Yoda is just eat it up.
It's solid.
I love Baby Yoda. It's funny. I think people say they dislike Baby Yoda, but I think deep down they love the Baby Yoda. I mean, come on, you just get this little thing that comes in. He's like,
yeah, I thought everyone likes Baby Yoda.
Everyone likes Baby Yoda.
It reminds me of my cat.
Right?
So, Max, I have to ask you this, and like this is just nobody would even care but me. But you said you worked at Disney and you worked with the Star Wars stuff. Did you work with Brian Blevins?
What?
Did you work with Brian Blevins, the graphic arts director?
No. So the way that we always worked was with, depending on where I was in the company, but when I was working like on the trailers and that side of things, I was not working on the trailers. I was working with the team that worked on the trailers. The only contact that we would ever have basically would be with the producers, the director, and that was really it. Because at that point, the movie is done. And now we're just getting whatever content they feel comfortable sharing. So that's who we worked with. And then sometimes we would get to work with the music director to kind of match the feel of the music that they were doing with the trailers and whatnot. But so often the trailers are actually happening before the movie is over. And so then it gets really complex of like what they're willing to share, because especially with Star Wars more than anything, it's very like, we're not going to tell you anything, but I'm here to work with you. I don't care. We're not going to tell you anything. They're very, very secretive. And they have right to be, because whenever they're not, things get leaked. Marvel is the same way, but it's like pulling teeth. The people that I actually ended up getting to work with directly would be the actors, because we would bring them in to do ADR for, add a line to the trailer or re-record something, and so we would actually get to talk with them and stuff, which was always fun.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
I just get tons of messages all the time. Are you the Brian Blevins that works in Los Angeles on Star Wars for Disney? And I'm like, no, that's not
or
me.
Brett Blevins. Is that Brett Blevins?
Is that Brett Blevins?
Yeah.
Doctor, can you take a look? Dr. Blevins, can you take a look at these pictures? I'm like, dude, I'm not a doctor, and you should never see those pictures over the internet.
I stopped sending those pictures. Come on, I thought we were over this.
How many times did I have to ask?
Now, but it seems like, following you on social media and stuff, I mean, obviously we're the Pop XP, the pop culture experience. Our big bread and butter is crowdfunding comics. We really push self-publishing, independent publishing, crowdfunding. But, it seems like you guys, yourself, Jose, like you guys are really into like pop culture and movies and, Legos and games and stuff. I mean, that is awesome. And I saw that you got the Titanic Lego set.
Yes. So I'm doing a whole series on the Titanic. It's going to be a whole month of videos leading up to the 110th anniversary of the sinking. And so I was like, well, this could be tax deductible. Yeah, I'll buy that $700.
Nice.
I'll put it in the back in one of the videos. Boom, paid for. I'm still paying for it. But so I am a big Lego fanatic. We're actually house hunting right now because we need a bigger place, basically, for the Legos and the Pokemon. That's, and all
How
the
big
not
is the
comfortable
Titan-
sleeping
how
on
big is the-
Pokemon.
How big is that Lego Titanic?
It is
4
it's like
feet.
4 feet. Yeah, I mean, it's
4 feet.
it's huge. It's absolutely huge, and I just have one section left, the last third. But it's really well done. It's one of, I think it's number 2 in my favorite builds that I've ever done of the
Next to Hogwarts.
Actually, okay, at Hogwarts actually might be number 2. My number 1 is actually the Home Alone house.
Really?
I think it's the best thing they've ever done. It's brilliant. Every single thing from the movie that takes place in the house is in the build, and it's so well done. So well done. So
That's the kind of house you guys have to buy.
Yeah.
I love the Home Alone house.
Whoever lives in that house has to be like a multi-millionaire, because it's like, oh, it's 8 bedrooms and it has a more house, especially like right outside of Chicago. I don't know what the dad did in that movie, but
I know.
Everyone wants to know what the dad did.
Yeah.
Besides be a bad dad and leave your kid.
I know. Besides be a horrible father and leave your kid home. That's the one thing. But man, this has been fantastic, Max. Really chatting with us. This is great. Everyone, please, if you get a chance, head on over. Just go into that search bar, or even in the link in the description of the show, or even in the chat. It's been shared. So anyone watching this live or that's watching this, that's going to watch this recorded, please subscribe to Tasting History with Max Miller. There's so many amazing videos here to go through. So much time, effort. I mean, unbelievable. And you have another channel, right? More of a happy hour bar.
Yeah, so it's Catch Up with Max and Jose. We have not posted to it in a few months. It's kind of because Jose handles that one. It's definitely more like vlog-ish. We're gonna do some more stuff with it, but Jose's been super busy with work, so he hasn't had time to put anything up. So, but very soon we're gonna reignite.
Fantastic. Awesome. And one more question I have for you is regarding Townsend. I mean, have you guys talked since, though? Because I know he's in Indiana.
Yes.
Of actually like maybe going to you being able to go out to the homestead that they built.
That is the hope. We were talking for a while, and it's just kind of, we haven't lately, but I really should reach out again, because I would love that. Especially, I want to wear garb. I love.
Yeah.
Jose got me tricorn hat from Townsend's, and it's now my pride and joy.
Nice. I hope they restock everything. I was just on the site the other day because I was looking for I want some of the knives he has, and they're always out of stock.
I'm sure something, it's probably just hard to get.
Well, I think it's COVID supply chains and everything. It's still such a hard time to get materials and stuff. But that's another great channel too, guys. Townsend's just does some really unique things. And if you do get to go out there, hopefully you'll get to sit in front of that fireplace that they built in the cabin. That is magnificent. I don't know, Billy, if you've watched Townsend. But I know, like when I have it on, when I first got into it, my wife, everyone's like, "What are you watching?" My wife's like, all he does is he watches Schoolies and Townsend. Like Schoolies are buses people turn into homes, and it's called a schoolie. And I want to do that. I mean, I don't know how I'm going to do it, now that I have kids and a wife. But I'll tell you, man, if it was,
so you could be like the
2005 again, single.
Never disregard the power of childhood
Nile
imagination.
I know, right? One day I'll build it. But again, Max, thanks so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. It was great. Thank you, sir. And onward and upward to 2 million, 3 million. Just keep on going, dude. You're gonna get there. You're crushing it. You're crushing it. Maybe you'll be on Travel Channel.
Don't forget the
puppy. I had him on the podcast once.
I want to do that.
There you go.
You will do it. You will do it.
Now, Billy, before we go, do you have a friend for us to meet?
Yeah.
Oh, she's asleep.
Oh man,
little Asha.
So, I know she's adorable though.
All right, we'll get her on air one of these other nights. Everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. Again, if you like this show, please click that subscribe button and smash that bell to get notifications when we go live or we upload some awesome new content for you guys. Again, we'll see you all tomorrow night. We've got an all new episode of Crowdfunding Comics. I got 4 amazing creators on. You can check it out. I've got it posted on the Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, and my personal Facebook page if you're friends with me. So check that out. So many great books. And tomorrow, hopefully, we'll get some people to back those books. Again, everyone, have a great night. Subscribe to Tasting History with Max Miller. And Max, where can the viewers out there who are introduced to you or fans of yours, how can they follow you? Where can they go?
Obviously, YouTube, but I'm very active on Instagram, Tasting History with Max Miller, and trying to be better on Twitter, Tasting History 1. Those are the best places, especially if they actually want to get a hold of me.
Perfect. Right. Excellent.
Thank you, Max, and thank you for the show.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Great.
Thank you for watching.
I think I've literally watched every episode.
I can't be more grateful.
Yeah. And there's one of your cats.
And one of
there's your cat.
All right, everyone.
The cats must be going crazy when you make the blood broth.
We have to lock them.
Is she always around?
We got to lock them up or things go crazy.
Yeah.
Just give them those peas. The peas. All right, everyone. Have yourselves a great night. It was fun hanging out with you all. Chat, you're awesome. Mod, you're great. And we will see you all tomorrow night at 9:30 with Crowdfunding Comics.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you, Max.
Have a good night.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us on Pop XP. If you haven't already, make sure to click that subscribe button and also click the bell for notifications when we go live and we upload some awesome new content. Also, don't forget to head on over to Twitter and follow us at the Pop XP and over on Instagram at the Pop XP. Thanks again everyone, and we'll see you soon.